At some point in life, conversations start to change. Not all at once, and not in a dramatic way. There isn't a single argument you can point to, or a moment where everything clearly went wrong. It's much quieter than that. It might start at a family gathering. You're sitting at the same table you've sat at for years, listening to familiar voices, and yet something feels off. A comment lands the wrong way. A joke doesn't quite feel like a joke. You think about responding, then decide it's not worth it. So you let it pass, or it happens on the phone. The call ends politely enough, but afterward, you replay it in your head. You wonder why the conversation felt tense when nothing obvious was said. You tell yourself you're overthinking it, but the feeling lingers. Sometimes it's a message. You send a text that feels normal to you. Hours go by, then a day. You try not to read into it, but a small doubt settles in anyway. The next time, you choose your words more carefully, or you don't send anything at all. It's not that you don't care. In many cases, you care more than ever. But life has added weight. Years of responsibility, disappointment, pride, and unspoken history. And that weight shows up in how we talk to each other. So, a simple comment comes out sharper than you intended. A question sounds like criticism. A moment that could have passed quietly turns uncomfortable, and no one is quite sure how it happened. What's happening isn't a failure of character. It's what happens when we're tired, emotionally full, and no longer as quick to recover as we once were. We start reacting instead of responding. 1. When we're overwhelmed, we stop listening. Think about a time when someone came to you upset. A spouse, an adult child, a longtime friend. When you're calm, listening comes naturally. You notice their tone. You ask what's going on. You want to understand. But when you're already carrying too much, something shifts. You interrupt without realizing it. You assume you know where the conversation is headed. You try to fix things too quickly, or you shut the conversation down entirely. Later, you might wonder when you became less patient. The truth is, you didn't lose empathy. You're just operating with less emotional margin than you used to. 2. Why harsh words appear without warning. Most people don't plan to say hurtful things. They slip out. Phrases like, "Is that really the best you can do?" Or, "You should know this by now," aren't usually what we mean. They come from frustration, fear, or feelings unappreciated. Often, what we wanted to say was something closer to, "I'm worried," or "This matters to me," or "I need help." But when we're overwhelmed, those words don't come easily. What comes instead is distance. 3. Why conversations feel riskier. Later in life, there's another reason conversations feel harder now than they used to. They feel riskier. By this stage of life, most relationships carry history. You remember what happened last time you brought something up. You remember how it turned tense, or how it ended in silence. And without consciously deciding it, you start protecting yourself. You think, if I say this, it might turn into that again. So you hold back. You soften your words too much. Or you say nothing at all. This isn't emotional weakness. It's fatigue. It's pride. It's the quiet cost of caring deeply and not wanting to make things worse. 4. How power struggles replace conversation. This shows up clearly in families as children grow into adults. A parent says something meant to be helpful. The adult child hears it as criticism. The child responds defensively. The parent feels dismissed. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about the original issue anymore. Maybe it ends with raised voices. More often, it ends with silence. After a few of these exchanges, both sides start holding back. Certain topics are avoided. Calls get shorter. Visits feel polite but careful. No one wants another uncomfortable moment, so everyone stays on the surface. Over time, arguments don't disappear. They're replaced by distance. And distance is harder to repair because nothing ever seems wrong enough to address. 5. The hidden meaning behind complaints. Here's something many people only realize later in life. Almost everything we say is either a request or an expression of gratitude, even when it doesn't sound like it. When someone says, "You're always busy," it often means, "I miss you." When someone says, "Things were different back then," it may not be about superiority. It may be about feeling unsure of where they fit now. We don't lose relationships because people ask for too much. We lose them because people stop asking clearly and start feeling quietly hurt. 6. How interpretation slowly creates distance. One unanswered message, a delayed reply, a holiday plan that never quite comes together. At first, you brush it off. Then it happens again. And without realizing it, a story forms in your mind. They don't really want me there. I'm not a priority anymore. Nothing was said. No argument happened. But the tone changes anyway. You stop reaching out as often. You respond more briefly. Not to punish, but to protect yourself from feeling dismissed again. Many relationships don't end because of what actually happened. They end because of what someone believed it meant. 7. Saying what matters without blame. Some people seem easier to talk to than others. It's not because they're more articulate. It's because they say what matters to them without accusation. Instead of saying, "You're careless," they say, "What matters to me is that this gets done safely." Instead of saying, "You never listen," they say, "I don't feel heard right now." For many of us, this didn't come naturally growing up. Feelings weren't discussed. Needs weren't named. But learning this later in life can quietly change how conversations feel. One man discovered this after decades of being capable and respected, but emotionally distant. He sent his adult daughter a message recalling a small, warm memory from her childhood. He didn't expect much. Days passed with no reply. Then she wrote back, explaining she had been struggling deeply and that his words had reached her at a moment when she needed them most. He later said that message taught him more about family and connection than anything else in his life. If this felt familiar, you're not imagining it. Many people reach this stage of life carrying more into conversations than they realize. It doesn't mean you've failed at relationships. It means you've lived long enough to understand what's at stake. Most people aren't trying to hurt each other. They're trying, sometimes awkwardly, to stay connected. If someone came to mind while listening, that matters. You don't have to fix everything. Sometimes the shift begins with one sentence said a little more honestly than before. Thank you for spending this time with me. I don't take that lightly. In a world full of noise, your attention is a gift, and I'm grateful you chose to share it here. If you feel comfortable, you're welcome to leave a quiet thought or reflection in the comments. Others reading may recognize themselves in it, even if they don't say a word. Wherever you are today, I hope your next conversation feels a little lighter and a little more human.